On this edition of Sonoran Style, we'll go head to tail with the king of the desert. We'll take a look at a black and white world inspired by wide open spaces and hardworking folks. And we'll meet a young family that has returned to greener pastures.
Hi. Hi.
Join us for Sonoran Style, a program with a focus on the history, spirit, and soul of Tucson. You'd think it would be quiet out in the middle of nowhere. Not so in the foothills of the Chiricahua Mountains near McNeil, Arizona.
This wind, not my favorite of all the elements. I'm probably going to have to tie my hat down.
But the robin egg sky and the soaring cliffs make any day on the Bar Boot Ranch a good day for a ride.
You could say that I'm a cowboy at heart. I like being on a horse, I like to work cows, and I like to go help my neighbors on their ranches. Yeah, there was about 30 cowboys over there, really good hands.
Jay Dussard and his horse Spud are spending the day with some buckaroo friends and ranch caretakers Don and Rosemary Pock.
It's been said that cowboys are a dying breed. I don't exactly agree with that. They're still out there, and I'm very grateful that they are.
He admits that ranches are disappearing, and he wishes that more people would understand and appreciate their importance.
For one thing, ranch country is probably the best insurance policy for maintaining open space, open country, and that benefits everybody's soul, even urbanites.
Jay Dussard has made it his mission to make sure cowboys don't disappear.
Oh, this will work fine.
Jay Dussard is a photographer. His book, The North American Cowboy, A Portrait, introduced us to the great faces of the West, faces that show hard work and true character.
My favorite people to photograph are the working cowboys. They're the people that have put up with me on many, many occasions because I'm really attracted to the landscape they operate in, and I'm really attracted to what they do.
But don't expect to see color and pageantry. Dussard works exclusively in black and white.
Yeah, for this I use Kodak T-Max 400. I've always done black and white photography. I keep telling myself and others that I see in black and white. I think I pretty much do. I really won't know what I want until they're in the shot. If the subject is fairly realistic, the viewer is they're going to add the color. They're not going to feel like they got cheated, but they're going to provide a lot of the visual experience for themselves. Yeah, oh man, and I'm not ready. Black and white photography really works for me because for one thing, the minute you put black and white film into a camera, you've made one giant step into abstraction. And I'm a very design-oriented photographer. Now, you guys look at my lens here.
There's a reason for that. His degree is in architecture. It was a travel scholarship during college that brought him out our way.
What I discovered, much more so than architecture, was the landscape of the West. I knew it was out here. I'd always been interested in it from books and films, but actually when I found it, when I discovered it, this magnificent landscape here, I just knew that I had to live here. Hey guys, I'm gonna watch the horse. I'm gonna watch his ears, but I want you guys to be looking, just looking right at my lens here. Come on, Bay.
After working in his chosen profession for a couple of years, he made another discovery.
It didn't take me long to realize that I was incapable of being a businessman and also incapable of living and working in an urban environment. Fortunately, I had taken up photography. I took it up seriously from the very beginning, and that's what saved me from the practice of architorture. Come on, Bay. Yeah, just you keep looking at my lens.
He discovered Siskin and Ansel Adams and taught photography at Prescott College, but it was a grant from the Guggenheim to photograph working cowboys that put him on the map.
Okay, we got it.
His travels have taken him from Mexico to Canada in pursuit of the perfect picture.
But I've never been a hired gun to photograph assignments. I don't relate to assignments. I don't like to have to go out and execute someone else's idea. I'm really defensive, protective, selfish about the way that I work, and I've been lucky that I've been able to photograph for myself. All right, that's going to help.
He's not traveling or photographing nearly as much as he used to. He says he has no regrets.
I am fortunate to have found photography. And photography, as much as it's terrorized me, especially in the darkroom, but it's been very, very good to me. Now that I'm in my 70s, I feel quite rewarded in the way that people are receiving this work. That's good. We'll shoot one more.
Dussard is quick to add that he doesn't want to be known only as a cowboy photographer. He's still working to capture the passion that brought him here in the first place.
The landscape is being taken over by swarms of people at an alarming rate.
And he thinks ranchers are our best hope.
And if they can survive out there, it's going to keep that grand piece of country grand for all of us.
It's the people he's photographed who have given him wings, but the landscape that keeps him grounded. Jay Dussard is a man who needs wide open spaces.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I like the horses, I like the people, I like the lifestyle. I used to rodeo some. I had a professional rodeo card years ago. I rope calves and team rope. To be healthy, we need to be not only physically fit, but mentally fit. Gotta really be careful right about now, or you'll burn them ends off. Scientists tell us that we only use a very small fraction of our brain, even when it's turned up to full volume. A lot of us, after we get some age on us, don't exercise enough physically, and we don't exercise our brains enough. Okay, here comes the little pigtail. Just turn that down there like that. It gives you a real sense of accomplishment to take a piece of iron, a horseshoe, or just any piece of iron, and make something out of it. Like that. That's made out of an aught plate horseshoe. And that, the number aught, is what goes on most horses. This little item right here is a brass spatula, and it's got a handle made out of a mid-size railroad spike. This one I made little hooks here made out of a railroad spike. It's like they drive in the railroad ties on the railroad. Little leaf up here on the top. Got a nickel on it. This little baby spoon is made from a number 7 horseshoe nail. I sell a lot of them to the ladies who have a child or are expecting one. They're little horseshoes that I make out of welding rods. So I make those. Then I make a little necklace here with a little shoe hanging on it. You can hang, the ladies can hang them around their neck, or some of the boys, if they're up to it. He said it was just as sharp when he got done as when he started.
How much you get for these?
125 with a sheath. Like I say, to be mentally healthy, we need to exercise our brain, and I have found that I get a lot of pleasure out of learning poems that are humorous and coincide with my Western way of life. Anything that has to do with horses or livestock or cattle or cowboys.
Nice time for Jake Reinhardt, 5.6.
Outside my window, a new day I see, and only I can determine what kind of a day it will be. It can be busy, sunning, laughing, or gay, or boring, cold, unhappy, and gray. My own state of mind is the determining key, for I am the only person I let myself be. I can be patient with those who may not understand, or belittle and hurt them as much as I can. I can enjoy what I do and make it seem fun, or gripe and complain and try to hurt someone. But I have faith in myself and believe what I say, and I personally intend to make the very best of each day.
With visitors from states across the map, it can be hard to find a native-born in the crowd. One thing's for sure, a moderate climate and lots of sunshine pleases us humans, and it gives Mother Nature the go-ahead to grow a lavish crop of living things.
You still getting the signal?
Yeah. Herpetologists at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum are making a house call, and technology is leading the way.
Oh, here's somebody.
There's one native-born who lives happily in this corner of paradise. And the habits of the Arizona-grown rattlesnake population are, to some minds, about as interesting as you can get.
So we have 6 snakes right now that are radio implanted, where we put transmitter in them, and they're out there in the desert. We have a couple of them not far from where we are right now. And these snakes give us a lot of information on how they're using the property.
What was the beep rate?
22 seconds.
22. Okay, so the animal is visible.
This western diamondback is Arizona's most common variety, but other snakes who wander onto the grounds might find themselves part of the museum's collection.
It would probably be easier for me to get an elephant than to get certain types of rattlesnake that we have here. So because of this variety of habitat and the good climate, you end up with a very large diversity of rattlesnakes.
The staff at the museum has even grown their own, storing them in a cool, dark environment for several months.
Then we raise the temperature up, and that's normally the cue for them. You give them some space, a little bit of dim light, and you get more rattlesnakes.
It's been discovered that female rattlesnakes show maternal concern for their newborns, remaining nearby for a week or 2 after the babies are born.
She's staying there, making sure that these guys can take advantage of orienting themselves a little bit. They shed, and then they're ready for their first meal, so then everybody disperses. So it's a tender side of the rattlesnake that we don't see very often, so we like to point that one out very well.
Renee, there's a report of a rattlesnake at the Oasis Theater.
There are about 150 calls like this one every year.
Ooh, he didn't want to go in the box. Success.
The newbie is about to get the royal treatment once he's safely inside a handling tube.
You know what, I could probably use this one more smaller tube. He's not real snug in this.
Several measurements are recorded.
Yeah, 77 centimeters.
Then there is the run through the photocopier. Patterns on the tail are individual and an identification tool.
Set.
We can Xerox the tail of a rattlesnake, and the sequence of black and white on the tail is unique to that individual. You can actually form a key, and you can recognize the snake by that marking. We used to share a photocopier with other departments, so they were always startled a little bit when they came to photocopy something and were there with a rattlesnake.
And finally, there's color coding, allowing keepers to quickly identify the snake.
Feel like you're doing paint by numbers?
Sometimes.
Looks good.
That's enough.
In another area, keepers are getting ready for a procedure that doesn't happen every day.
Got him?
Yep. They are milking rattlesnakes for venom.
It's different, yeah. It keeps you awake. Yeah, you stay alert when you're doing it. So this is called voluntary collection of venom. So if he didn't want to bite this, we wouldn't make him. That was a good one. Very good.
The venom is a toxic saliva. It's being collected for researchers at the University of Arizona. But the procedure doesn't always go as you might expect. Sometimes the snakes just won't bite.
The biggest myth about snakes is that they're aggressive. There are no aggressive snakes. They're defensive.
A rattlesnake bite can be classified as what we call a backyard disease. Most people are bitten around their home. There's a snake, and they're trying to interact with the snake to move the snake, to kill the snake, and they get bitten in the process. This is a medium-sized Gila monster, and this animal will be the star today of the program.
Another animal is getting ready for showtime.
Well, we're lucky here in Arizona. We have 18 kinds of rattlesnakes. It's great, isn't it? That's why you guys all came here, right?
The program features venomous creatures of the desert Southwest.
I'm going to try to make him run here a little bit. There we go. That's about it right there, okay? So it's not a very fast-moving lizard.
Well, this is an adult black-tailed rattlesnake. This guy was born here back in 1991 at the Desert Museum.
Arizona may be called the rattlesnake capital of the United States, but too often the rattlesnake is a misunderstood animal around the world.
If in a day's of work you change somebody's attitude towards rattlesnake, not wanting them to become big lover of rattlesnake, but at least understand what they are, how they function, and how they can interact and be safe around rattlesnake. You know, if we do this on a daily basis, that's a great accomplishment.
Another myth, that the rattlesnake is out of sight during winter. Fact is, if it's a warm day, you might find one sunning. If you admire him from a distance, then back away slowly while remaining calm and quiet. It's likely your friendship will remain intact.
We are the first dancers. A long, long time ago. This dance is a traditional way to keep our warrior spirit alive. This is a traditional way to keep our history. I could tell you that my father was a dancer, my grandfather was a dancer. I have been dancing for many years. When you ask how long have you been dancing, centuries and centuries and centuries. I want to make happy the spirits of my ancestors.
And remember, one more thing, we the Indians, still alive, thank you.
Doesn't matter that they may put pavement or they put asphalt or they make whatever there. Yeah? Under that is the land. And we are in rhythm with that land. And that is how you enjoy. Be in rhythm with Mother Earth, in rhythm with her, not against her. Yeah? And when you enjoy that, so you are happy. It's really easy.
The San Pedro River runs year-round near Dudleyville, Arizona, and nestled on its peaceful bank is the Double Check Ranch.
It costs a pretty penny to put in fencing. So if it ain't entirely broke, don't fix it.
It's mid-morning at the ranch, and there's a lot to do.
Stella, get. Stella, go. Did you want to feed it to him? You want it for you. It's really nice. It's very peaceful and it's honest. I guess honest is the best way to describe it. It's really work that you can feel good about doing. You know, I used to be vegetarian.
And the Double Check just happens to be a beef operation. But that won't stop this city girl.
You're more isolated, but I prefer the isolation.
Sarah Schwenneson is a graduate of the Air Force Academy and Harvard. After years of higher education, she now finds herself a country girl.
This is definitely more where my heart is. Yep.
She says she doesn't have a hankering for a city fix, since Tucson is just down the road, but she does miss being with people her own age.
Because you're so much more remote, you don't have as wide of a group of friends to draw from and to get support from. So the ones you do have here become much closer. They're more like family than just like friends. Catherine, slow down. Are you okay? Are you okay? Oh, that was a goofy fall.
In the meantime, Sarah has a toddler to ride herd on and a baby on board. Her husband, Paul, is the other half of the operation.
A rancher friend of ours said that the ranching is 10% agriculture, 90% fixing what's broke. Which seems very appropriate.
Paul Schwenneson also graduated from the Air Force Academy and Harvard, but he's no city kid. He grew up on this land.
It's hard to get out of your blood, there's no doubt about it. Living outside and working outside is great.
He's always liked the ranching life, but he dreamed of being a fighter pilot. A depth perception problem grounded him in more ways than one.
It's funny how life twists and turns and you sort of end up where you started in some ways. I always believed that I would be on the land. I didn't know if I would be here particularly, and one thing led to another, and here I am.
Both Paul and Sarah gave up high-paying jobs with the U.S. State Department to come back to the land.
You guys break my irrigation? Stella, knock it off. Along with an agricultural streak, there's a self-sufficiency streak there too, and that's part of the enjoyment, is being able to fix the things that break. Yeah, sometimes when you run into something that you just can't fix, it's sort of demoralizing, but for the most part, I think it's kind of, like I was telling other people, this is the most mentally and physically challenging thing I've ever done. You know, Air Force and all this other stuff aside, this is more. Pressure's building on our lower line here. It's just fun to be out here, especially on a day like this. The tall one standing up is mustard weed. The grass here is mostly, this is all a pasture mix of oats, wheat, barley, and rye, and winter rye. I think it's Oscar Wilde said that a weed is simply a plant whose virtues haven't been discovered yet. And that's kind of what we're finding here.
Paul doesn't use artificial fertilizer. He's keeping the pastures as wholesome and organic as possible.
Nelson, look what I got for you. Yeah, butterscotch, huh? hard to imagine, compare this to sitting in a cube somewhere, checking email.
The family-owned business has supported 3 generations. If Paul has his way, it might be handed down to a 4th.
Stella, come. Stella, come here. Stella, good. Sit. Stay. Look at it like.
Hi.
Always clean whatever.
Hi.
Washing, and so.
Is that fun?
You sure are. You look just like me.
What makes the double check unique is they own the entire beef cycle. His parents run a calf-cow operation near the New Mexico border. The cows come here to be finished on grass, butchered, and sent to market.
That's a sausagey looking steer. That's an example of a finished steer right there. He's small, but he's finished. It's one of those artistic things again. There's no science to it. You look at him, and after a while you start to get an eye. You're looking for a sausagey looking steer,
The Schwennesons hope that small-scale local agriculture will become a supplement to our regular industrialized diets. It's an idealistic undertaking that has changed this young couple over the past year and a half.
All this was new, and it was a tremendous stress on Sarah, and therefore stress on us. But I think since then things have stabilized, and it just feels like we've grown closer as a couple and stronger as a couple because of what we're doing. We're both working on a mutual endeavor here. Speaking of
Catherine,
speaking of raising,
get out of there.
What?
We caught you. Her face was like, oh no, get out of there, come here. Go.
You start to realize why it is that agricultural families usually are so tight-knit and so dependent on each other. And perhaps also why the divorce rate was so low in the farming days. You can't do it alone.
It makes you realize how much you need each other, emotionally as well as physically.
Mm-hmm.
Family support is important, but not always easy to come by.
I think it's not what they dreamt of for their daughter. Would you say?
Yeah, I'd say so, but on the other hand, I think their eyes have been opened somewhat too. I think particularly your dad is kind of
warming up to it.
Side of the sun.
Most parents, of this generation, when you raise up your children, you have to give them the skills to succeed in the world and allow them the ability to determine where they want to succeed. So I think our parents have, both Paul's parents and my parents, have tried to relax their handhold and allow that to happen.
It seems the Schwennesons are just where they want to be.
For me, the fulfillment is in being able to determine how I spend my time and energy, for better or worse. And I don't think that's the same for Sarah.
The fulfillment, you mean?
Yeah. What do you find fulfilling about?
I find fulfilling that we're producing a good product and people appreciate what we do, and I find it fulfilling that these animals out here will have a good end. They have a good life, they have a happy life, and they have a good end.
It's the end of the day at the Double Check Ranch, but there are still chores to do.
Way up. Way up. Way up. Way up. Way up. Pretty hard to beat, isn't it? Brings a tear to your eye.
Like bees to honey, the new pasture is calling, beast and man alike.
Get out, how'd you do that? I have to see that. Stella, sit.
What could be better than the sweet smell of clover, the playful romp of Stella the cow dog, who's always underfoot, and a family that so clearly belongs to the land?
Are you happy in the grass? Good.
If that's not the sign of bliss, I don't know what is.